we go. It is going live. Going. It's live. Off it goes. Let's get all the little tidbits all done up and ready to go. Get the show on the road. Halloween is almost upon us. We have a week to go.
Wow, we only have a week left?
Week and a half for Halloween.
Jeez.
Not even a week and a couple of days for Halloween Day, but next week's show is the Halloween show. You get to miss it.
Yeah, which really sucks because Halloween is like the only holiday of the year I like.
Yep. So I get to do the Halloweeny show all by my lonesome.
Yeah, well, hey, in some beliefs, Halloween is the new year, right?
The pagan beliefs. It's the pagan New Year. It's the Celtic New Year.
That is something that I've always kind of considered, is that Halloween is my new year. Mm-hmm. And I realized I have a heck of a pattern of complete chaos right around Halloween, because it's like the past year is just going chaotic as it dies off for me, and all this new stuff appears and I have to sort it all out. Mm-hmm. It always seems to be around Halloween. Yeah. I wonder if that's because I've considered it I've considered it New Year's for me so long, because it seems like a lot of people, the same thing happens to them for January 1st.
Yeah, could be.
It's interesting. Interesting idea. One of those what you think will happen kind of thought.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've always liked Halloween. It's a time when the veil is the thinnest.
Yep.
It's a time of everything is dying in the northern hemisphere.
I thought that the veil was actually thinnest on December 21st because it is the longest night of the year.
No, it's thinnest at Halloween.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
That's a rabbit hole I could jump down.
Yeah, that's a nice rabbit hole. There's all kinds of rabbit holes. There's a never-ending supply of rabbit holes for things to wander down and explore, especially in the world of the bizarre and the unexplained. Always trying to explain things and never being able to explain them.
Yeah, that can be a little daunting, especially when you have curious children who honestly think you know everything.
Well, that's the joys of children. They think you know everything, so revel in it while you can.
I'm trying to revel in it, except for now that the kids are older, they actually expect me to be able to answer the most bizarre questions, and when I can't answer it, they go, "Oh, okay." Well, and then they come back and they ask me again later. It's like
that's where you teach them the skills of research for themselves.
I have taught them. Like, the first thing I taught the kids how to do is how to read a dictionary, so I could stop explaining every single word.
Yeah, well, get the kids to learn and educate themselves. At a certain point, you run out of answers.
Yeah,
like, it's hard to stay ahead of kids.
It's funny though, because like the kids know how to research, but for some reason they still think that I know more than whatever they find for their research. It's really kind of cool.
It's about being lazy. It's like, I'll just ask mom. Why should I go through all this work? I'll just ask. If they got an answer, I don't have to do anything. If they don't have an answer, it means I got to do some work.
That makes way more sense. That really does.
It's about humans being inherently lazy and taking the shortest route possible to the solution.
Well, yeah, that's why we have cars.
That's why we have everything.
True.
That's why we no longer live in caves and hunt with clubs and spears. You know, this is why we have, you know, houses and cars and everything else, because it simplifies and makes life easier, and it allows us to be extremely lazy like we are in the world today. The world is so lazy now, it's not even funny.
Hi, Joey. How's it going?
Joey.
We have Joey saying hi in the chat room.
Hey, Joey. Here we go. Yeah, well, we don't want to Encourage the laziness. Get out there, get things done.
But if the sun is shining, then it's the universe itself encouraging laziness.
No, when the sun is shining is when you got to do the most amount of work. Time you get to be lazy inherently is in the middle of the winter when you can't really go outside because it's too miserable and cold.
Which is kind of funny because it seems like a lot of people end up doing way more in the winter than they do in the summer.
Well, only because they're indoors. All right, we're coming up on music time and carry it up to showtime. So let's go with some good music, bad singing, and off to showtime. Oh yeah. Don't claim to know your story, don't even have my own. In search for glory, going with them sacred rules of old. They went missing down Highway 49. Bills at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Preacher man discovered, passed down from saint to sage, like a kind-hearted lover who's been lost on this stage. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Saying they are the answer, not saying they're right or wrong. I ain't no Texan dancer, we'll move it right along. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Junkie and the jigger, the scene who done the crime. And the captain pulled the trigger, and guess who's doing time? They went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, is it yours or is it mine? Most definitely mine. They know your story, don't even have my own. In our search for glory, going with them sacred rules of old. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, doing time. Devil's at the crossroads, Joker's doing fine. You're just sitting doing time. There we have it. It is showtime. I think it's time we just jump right into this and get this thing on the road. So off we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
Shambling along with WordPress plugins. It's episode 533. And we have plugins for Mars pictures, Backend file search, better links, Halloween boxing, CSSing, saving the posts, and ClassicPress options, all coming up on WordPress plugins from A to Z.
WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gems? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress plugins from A to Z.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlook in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever lovely
Amber Overall.
And we have a usual great show for you. And of course, this is an all new season. WP Plugins A to Z is 11 years old and counting. We have just started our 12th year. This is the first episode of our 12th year of doing this show. October 18th was the anniversary of the show, folks. So yeah, we've been around a long time. We are pretty much the longest running WordPress podcast out there. Continuously running. There was one that was longer than me, but he died off for several years and then came back. But at any rate, before I get too far down the line, you'll remember to hang around at the end of the show for the Q&A segment with Amber. And for those listening to the podcast, you want to check out the YouTube version, which not only has the second part of the Q&A segment, but the first 5-10 minutes of the show, we have a little bit of a banter back and forth. Sometimes it's very interesting and entertaining. Sometimes it's a little on the boring side. But with all that being said...
Please, thank you for sharing, John. Now get down from that soapbox.
You know, I double-checked with people listening. They said that the clips are coming through fine, but for some reason, I can barely hear them. It sounds like it's coming from...
The clips?
Yeah, it sounds like it's coming from, another room in a very large house. It's
I can adjust
interesting.
that. I'll adjust that. Here. You hear it now?
Squirrel!
Still the same, but that's okay. It comes through fine for our listeners, so perfect.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why you can't hear them. All right.
I'm just gonna blame my headset.
Okay, blame that. Off you go.
This is number 40 of 52 episodes for 2021. We are just about at the end of the year. Doesn't really feel like yet another year has just passed us by, though it has been a fairly busy past year for most of us, I'm finding. I hope that everyone is ready for Halloween. In my opinion, it is the best holiday of the entire year, even though I unfortunately will be missing our show next week, which will be our Halloween show. Sorry. But I mean, honestly, what's better than free candy? Also, I think Halloween is literally the most trusting night of the year. What other night of the entire year do people willingly allow complete strangers to knock on their doors and accept things from complete strangers? It's essentially offering up and accepting gifts with all the people in your area for hours at a time. And, nobody really thinks anything of it. But even with all the excitement and everything, remember to take some time for yourself. Block out a little time of your day just to chill out without any kind of media. It will help a lot with the whirlwind of holiday craziness because you know that the next few holidays that are coming up are just going to be insane. Rinse and repeat as often as needed.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go wander into...
Please, can everybody be quiet? Please be quiet. Shut up! Thank you. And now the WordPress news with John Overall.
And Amber.
Okay, so the first thing I've got for us today is, I'm not sure if it's Kira or CIRA.
Kira,
okay.
Kira.
So Kira's cybersecurity report.
Canadian Internet Registration Authority.
Wow, I thought you didn't know acronyms.
I know this one because I've owned .ca domain since the beginning of its existence.
Haha. Okay.
They never used to use their acronym. Then they started using their acronym.
Huh. Okay, so what this is about is it's talking about how the pandemic has shifted Canada's cybersecurity landscape a lot. Kira has published its annual cybersecurity survey for the year, And it's a little surprising, actually. In this article, you'll read about how cybersecurity professionals have had to adapt to the new lasting measures and what we can expect to stick around for the future with these new measures and what is probably going to be set by the side. So, any thoughts?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not any thoughts on that at all. It's a never-ending battle. It's like it's a continuous arms race. You know, the more the security experts take care of things, the more the hackers find new ways to get in. It's an arms race. It's a
I'm
never-ending
just
battle.
kind of surprised at the way that it's changed. Maybe it's because I'm still fairly new to everything, but it surprised me to read just how much it's changed just over the past year.
Well, people had more time to sit in front of their computers this past year and a half.
That is actually very true.
You know, you got to remember, more people were working from home than ever before, so more people were using the internet in ways that hadn't been done before. So that changes everything, and that gives new access to the hackers.
Very good point. All right, next one I have is WordPress 5.9 Go/No-Go update. So this is talking about how all of the proposed features are indeed going to be moving forward. So users can expect block themes, templates, template part editing flows, new default 2022 block theme, styles interface, design tools, navigation block, and all manner of UI improvements, and also pattern insertion directly from the pattern directory. So I think what was going on is they were kind of waffling about what they would have and what they wouldn't in this new update. And it seems they've just decided to throw it all in there.
That ought to be fun and entertaining.
Yep.
I'll definitely be avoiding updating until they hit patch 5.1 or 5.2 or 5.9.
Might be a good idea.
5.9.1 or 5.9.2.
Yeah.
If they're throwing that much into the pot, you want to make sure the flavors are blended well before you start tasting it.
Yep. Next one up is WP fastest cache patches authenticated, SQL injection, and stored SS via CSRF vulnerabilities. Now, I'm not sure what
cross-scripting and cross-scripting vulnerabilities.
Oh, okay. All right. So what this article is talking about is explaining the various patches that have been brought out to fix vulnerabilities, but why it's news is the speed with which it was done. So when I read this, I couldn't help but think about how a lot of the patches that I've seen kind of rushed. They didn't work very well, and they had to put out a whole new patch. But I don't know. Maybe the fast patches are getting better.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they just knew what was wrong and actually wrote the code correctly.
That could be it. The next one up is Yoast and Google sponsored core contributors propose new WordPress performance team. So I had to read this a few times. I think what they are saying here is that WordPress core vitals need work as a whole, because there's a lot going on the various sites. So as a whole, a lot of the sites are slowing down. They're not loading up as fast as people, the visitors would like.
Yeah.
And so they're proposing that I think they're suggesting that people throughout WordPress start using like the same themes and plugins. Now, they don't say that, but it seems like it's giving that feeling.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with WordPress. When they start comparing it to Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, and all those others, they forget that WordPress, if you were to run just strictly the core WordPress theme and maybe a couple of super popular plugins like WooCommerce, you'd be quite fine. But the problem is there's 90,000, 100,000 plugins to choose from. And you know, the sole reason for the existence of this show, but you know, you start throwing all that different stuff into the mix, it slows things down, changes stuff. So
yeah. So this was an interesting article for me, because it's not very often I have to reread an article so many times just to really get what they're saying.
Yep.
The next one up is Gutenberg contributors propose renaming reusable blocks. And the first thing that pops into my head is, why do companies do this? Why do they rename things when everyone knows the current name already? And then they change name, and I don't know why people,
because it's
why companies
improving
do
your
this.
customer experience.
Yes. That phrase has so many meanings to it.
It does. It does. It's like they don't like names, so they decide to change them later after everyone's gotten used to it, and then everyone doesn't know what the hell they're talking about anymore until they get used to the new name. And about time we get used to the new name, we'll change it again.
Well, in this case, the creators of Gutenberg are saying that they had no idea how important reusable patterns would be. So they are looking to create a category / new name for them to make it easier for their users.
Yep, like I said, improving customer experience.
Joey's pointing out that Facebook is about changing the name too. Yes, I actually brought that article. If you want to jump down to it.
Facebook is changing its name.
Yes.
To what?
They don't know yet.
We steal your data as fast as you can put it on here. What are they going to change it to? Oh, to Zuck. They're going to change it to Zuck. All right. So it's Face Zuck.
I don't know. I know that the writers at TNW here, they have a couple suggestions like Zuckverse.
Yeah.
But I don't think they actually know what they're going to be changing it to. They are talking about changing it, and that's as far as they've gotten so far as I know. But
yeah. Well. Oh well, it's as it is.
Yeah, the whole reason why they are changing their name is because they want to appear as more than a social media company. Which, yeah, okay. Good luck to them.
Whatever. Good luck. Whatever. I have touched my Facebook a few times in the last few weeks, but I pretty much managed to stay away from it for almost an entire year, which so much improved my mental health.
I bet. And that actually makes a good point that I hadn't thought about. In general, the reason for renaming is to trick those who have rejected your product to reconsider because they think it's something different.
Oh, hey.
Also,
that's a good thought. I hadn't thought about that.
Also, to give jobs to marketers and designers. Good points.
Yep.
So the last one I have here for our main news is how to say no to your customers and still provide great service. I really like this article. It actually helps you to set your boundaries without upsetting people or causing people to, try to destroy your company. And one of the things that they say, like number 5 on the list, is remember that clients who walk aren't a good fit. It's not a bad thing to let your clients walk if things just aren't working out. It's probably better all around.
It took me many years to learn these lessons.
Yeah. So this is actually a pretty good, helpful article that I found.
It's good if you're self-employed and you're working contract stuff. It's really good to know when it's time to cut bait and bail. Alrighty. Well, we do have a whole bunch of other news and information here for you folks. You'll want to go check through them. There's just a whole slew of them there. Amber does a wonderful job of scouring the internet every week to bring way too much that we could ever talk about here. We can make an entire show just on the news.
We could, but I just also wanted to point out that in our extras, we actually have 6 articles that were sent in to me.
Yeah. And
they're pretty good articles. And we also have stuff about security, supply chain. And the last one I have is actually kind of entertaining. It's about the 5 articles you always read about AI, even though each time you read one of these 5 articles, it's reworded. It's always the same.
That's because the AI is writing it. And the AI is, self-centered, and he just wants to keep putting this stuff out there about himself. That's my theory.
Definitely go and check these out in our show notes. I always make sure to throw in some really entertaining stuff now.
Alrighty, well, right off the top, right at the center, right after the news, we do like to acknowledge those that support our show.
Time to donate to WP Plugins A to Z.
This is where we like to talk about those that have supported the show with their time, talent, or treasure. The 3 T's. And we like to start off by acknowledging our artists who supply us with great artwork every week. And those of you watching on YouTube get a sneak peek of the artwork before it goes live, because it's always different than the art that I have up for the little placeholder for YouTube image, because that one there is usually based upon the artwork we have, but it's not the exact same. And this week here, we do have another great piece of art from Greg's Graphics, and it is a mummified, looks like a kid to me. It's a mummified kid, just doesn't look to be moving, but it just gave me the feeling of shambling along, which is what I decided to call this show. I do like the way Greg gets in there, messes with the logos, the colors, and just has fun with them, and just does a great job of showcasing artwork that we get to show off each and every week on the show, and also change the art for our show each and every week, where, you know, I guess more and more podcasts are doing this, but I've been doing this artwork change now for at least 3 years. And most people are just now figuring it out. So it's always kind of a cool thing. So thanks a lot, Greg. We greatly appreciate your talent. If you'd like to have your artwork showcased here, you can go submit it to wppluginsa2z.com/artwork to submit your artwork. And get it all, you know, if we like it, we'll select it, and you get recognition and a link to your website, if so be it. So give it a shot. We also like to recognize those that support the show with their time. And the time being supported these days is, you know, we've got Charlie, who helps us with the contest, which we've put on hiatus for a little while. And we've got other areas of the website. And over the years, we've had different people help with different aspects of the show. They usually get burned out because it's a volunteer position, and I understand that. I've done my own burnouts in volunteer work. It's hard to do your own work and then do the volunteer work because you're not getting paid, so you're not as motivated. But we always need motivated people, or people who have extra time that want to support the show by helping us out with the website. One particular area we need help with is the organization of our artwork. And right now we have a lot of really good artwork in the show, and it'd be nice if we could get it showcased up a little bit better. And we've got artwork that from the past that has not been that is not displayed in our art gallery yet. So we could use some help with that. And I got other areas. If you want to know more, reach out to me at john@WPPro, and I can help you out. The other way we like to recognize people is for their donations of their treasure. That's their money, cash. One day we'll have to get the crypto stuff set up. I haven't made the time to deal with that. At any rate, so we'd like to thank out anyone who comes in $50 or more as an executive producer of this show, and it is a real credit that you can use elsewhere and say, hey, I was an executive producer of the WP Plugin show. Also, you know, if you word it all correctly, you might even be able to, you know, fake it as a tax write-off, as a advertising expense. You never know. That's not recommendation, or, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not telling you what to do. It's just something. At any rate, we don't have any executive producers this week, but we do have the people who come in under $50 that remain anonymous, and it's a few bucks. It's here and there. It's a couple of bucks a month, a couple of bucks a week. You know, it never puts any money in our pockets, but it does help offset the show, and it does show that you recognize the value for value that this show is. If you get any value out of it, give some value back, and that value is time, talent, or treasure, and treasure is always acknowledged and thanked. So thank you all very much for all of that. That being said, it is time for us to dive into what people show up here for, which is into the depths of plugin depravity. All right, so ClassicPress this week. I don't have anything new at ClassicPress that I'm aware of, so we'll just recognize that we still cover ClassicPress when we come across that stuff. I'm not working in it, so that means I'm not researching it. And I I had to make a choice. That's really what it boiled down to. But if you do use ClassicPress, or you know someone who is using ClassicPress and you want to hear some stuff here on the show, send it over to us and we will get it into the show. As for WordPress plugins, we do have those. And the first one I've got for you this week is BIOL, B-I-O-L, Beautify links. This is kind of a cool plugin here. And although it seems like it's old, it's not. It's only a year old. And one of the things it does for you is when you're making your links in your website, linking to other pages or external sorts and stuff, you usually get the one simple way of doing it on your site, which is to create the link and it just creates the link. Well, this here enhances that. You can create your new link, and then with your new link, you can go in and you can add some starting text to it, add some text color, a background color, a border color, link decoration on it. It makes a little box around your link. And then what it does is adds a little box in front of your link. You could add something like must read and then what the link is. And then it just sort of enhances it, makes it stand out on the page a little bit. So it's a really cool little tool you can add to enhancing the different links in your blog posts on your site. You don't have to use it on every link, but hey, it can be great on lots of different links. Something you might want to check out if you're linking off to important stuff that people want to see, or use it for your internal links to other places in your site that you want people to catch and notify about. At any rate, I thought it was a pretty great plugin. Go check it out. It's called BIOL, B-I-O-L, Beautify links, and I give it a 5 dragon rating.
That actually seems like a really good idea.
Mm-hmm. I thought so.
So the first one I've got is, I'm going to murder the name, Wedipol Engineering Disable Comments. So this was sent in to us by our listener, Martin Wedipol. I think I'm getting his last name kind of right.
Just go Wedipol.
Okay, Wedipol. And I'm actually going to let him explain it in his own words. I have a little plugin that removes comments and hides any of the mid-page stuff to do with comments. I include this in any custom plugins I develop for other clients who don't use comments, and that is most of them. So they aren't asking questions of why is there a comments link on the admin dashboard if they aren't using comments. Check it out at the link, wordpress.org, plugins, we disable comments. And as with all my plugins, you will have to search for it using the link above or my name, since I'm just not that popular.
We're working on making you more popular.
We're working on it. So I checked this out myself. I really liked it. I also like the fact that it's just a plug and play.
Yep.
Put it in, let it go, and it is efficient, easy. Definitely worth checking out. I rate it at 5 dragons.
Cool. Yeah, go check it out. Martin makes some great plugins. We've reviewed one of his plugins a couple of times previously.
Mm-hmm.
So go check it out and use it. It can help you out. If you're not using comments, great way to turn them off in one smooth shot. All right, the next one I have up for you here is called WP Backend File Search and Editor Tweaks Lite. Okay, this one here is one that allows you, if you're one of those people, like I don't do it too often anymore, but I used to use the backend editors for WordPress for editing code or tweaks in plugins or in theme folders and such. And this is a plugin that can dramatically help you with that. And what it does is when you're editing plugins or the themes or whatever, it puts a little search function right up there at the top for you that you can search for if you're looking for a key phrase. And of course, there's dozens of files. And let's take a simple plugin. It might have a dozen, 2 dozen files in it, and you're looking for a phrase in those files, and you just don't know where it's at. This plugin here actually searches through that and finds that information for you and opens the appropriate folder and file for you. So it's kind of a cool tool for helping you enhance during the process of doing your developing on the site. Also, it'll stick line numbers in there for your code, so you know what line number you're working on the code. The other thing it helps cure is that long extended line. It'll tack in word wrap into the editor for you. And word wrap is really useful and important when you're editing code, because there's nothing worse than a single line of code running out to 800 characters to the right, and you have to scroll back and forth to see everything. It gets really hard to read. So this is a very useful tool, one that I thought was really useful for anyone that's still doing their own hacking and stuff in the back end. Go check it out. It's called WP Backend File Search and Editor Tweaks Lite, and I give it a 4 dragon rating.
Very nice. Excuse me. Next one I have up is Halloween Box. This is a pretty fun little Halloween plugin. It's still working well, even though it hasn't been updated for a year. You plug it in, let it rip, and all of your posts and pages receive a Halloween edition. It can make it a little hard to read your post or page with the pumpkins being added at the bottom like this, but it definitely looks cool. And it also depends on like how long your post is and what have you. Definitely worth checking out. And if you already have a dark theme, the pumpkins just add an awesome spooky feeling to everything. So definitely go and check this out if you're looking for some Halloween decoration for your site. I rate this at 5 dragons.
Cool. And next week, I'll probably bring a ton of Halloween plugins just because there's a bunch of them and I haven't done them in a while. All right. The final one I've got here for you is Curiosity POTD, or Photo of the Day. If you like knowing about Mars and wanting to know what the latest Mars rover picture is, and you'd like to display them up on your website, this is just a simple, fun plugin, little widget that you add in. You can use their default demo key, or you can go to NASA and get your own API key that you enter in here. And then once you get that all entered in there, every day when the new Curiosity photo comes out, it'll get displayed up on your website. So it's nothing super special, but it is kind of cool looking and something to go check out and see what the latest Mars photo is. And who knows, maybe you'll get that new photo where they've got spacemen walking across the screen and nobody saw them yet. Go check it out. I give this one a 4 dragon rating.
That does seem like a pretty cool thing to have around. Last one I have is Custom CSS or Elementor. This plugin seems to essentially be the same as simple custom CSS plugin, only this is specifically made for Elementor. It's very useful if you use Elementor and need to change just a couple of things here and there. It works beautifully. So what makes this different is generally we know that Elementor has a little additional CSS area under the Advanced tab, but what this does is it actually creates a corresponding CSS input field for all of the widgets, or all of the little tabs there. So you can actually choose. I'm not explaining it very well. I wrote it down, and what I wrote down wasn't very explanatory either. It was clear in my head. Apologies for that. It essentially gives you more individual control over how each little bit looks. It's very useful if you use CSS. And also it's totally free. And I do rate it at 5 dragons because it does work beautifully. Maybe if you click through...
Cool.
Sorry, if you click through that, maybe it'll help to give a visual. Sorry about not being able to explain it.
This?
Yeah. So it, like, see, it actually gives you separate CSS things rather, like, for each...
Each item.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Each item on the page. So it creates separate IDs for everything.
There we go.
Okay, to answer Hemdian's question, what does getting your own key give you? I assume he's talking about the API key for the Curiosity one, for the NASA key. With your own API key, you could then use it in your own plugin or somewhere else that the API key could be used to draw different stuff from NASA. I went over and checked it out. It doesn't take you very long to get the key, but I don't have much use for it myself. And while I like this plugin, it's not something I figured out how to use yet, aside from experimentation. All right. Well, that covers up our plugins here. We still don't have listener feedback. Come on, folks. I know there's at least 4 or 5 people listening to the show. So with our 4 or 5 people out there listening, hey, come on, send us some questions. Make it some entertainment for us. All right, and our contests, as we've mentioned, are on hiatus, so we'll just leave that be. We got a couple of quick things to close out before we head into the Q&A segment with Amber. Closing out, I covered up the following plugins: the BIOL Beautify links, which I gave a 5 to; the WP Backend file search and editor tweaks Lite, which I gave a 4 to; and the Curiosity POTD,
which you rated
a 4.
And I covered Halloween Box, which I rated at 5. Custom CSS for Elementor, which I rated at 5. And, it looks like I forgot to change that. Sorry. I'll make sure I fix that in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I covered is Wedapol Engineering Disable Comments, which I also rated at 5, at a whole 5 day.
All right. Aces high. Okay. Nothing else in the reminders at the moment, except if you are a developer or someone in the WordPress industry and you'd like to be in an interview show, just reach out to me at john@wppro.ca, or just go to wppluginsa2z.com interview and schedule an interview. And that, I had something else to say, but my brain has locked up on it for some reason.
Seems to be that kind of day.
Yeah, well, not the end of the world. At any rate, it's time for us to move along to...
It's question and answer time.
What, Amber?
First off, if anyone out there has any questions they'd like to have asked on the show, feel free to send them in to me at amber@wppro.ca, and I'll get them up here and we'll see what the answer is. The first question we have is actually from Martin Wedapol. What he says is, I regularly check the WordPress vulnerability report from iThemes and notice there seems to be a lot of cross-site scripting vulnerabilities on even simple plugins. Is this because the plugin developer is trying to do much more than the basic features of the plugin?
Well, I don't know. It could be they're trying to do more than the basic features of the plugin. It could also be that they're lazy with their code. Because most cross-site scripting vulnerabilities are caused by a flaw in the code, or they're asking from, I haven't done this stuff in quite some time, but from what I recall, is they're calling a function with an insecure question. They're using an insecure method to call a specific function, and that allows for cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. Is the insecure method. Most of the time, it's just they're not coding their plugins with enough security or paying attention to the standards when they're coding it up. Especially like WordPress has very specific standards, and I know they've changed many of the calls over the last 5-6 years. There were ways that I knew how to do things that if you do it now in those ways, then you actually introduce a security flaw that can be exploited through cross-site scripting. So it's just, I think it's just a matter of paying attention to the security, and the developer's not doing that, or a new security flaw, something that worked okay and wasn't a security flaw. The hackers discover a way to monopolize, or not that's monopolize isn't the word, but they discover a way to use that flaw that wasn't previously known. And that's what the hackers do. They spend days throwing different ideas at it, so much creativity in their brains, and they decide to use it for evil rather than good. So that's pretty much all I have on that one.
All right. Next question is, we seem to be having a major hack issue popping up everywhere, which you said before is kind of normal, just as being noticed more. But my question is, do you think this is going to die off anytime soon, or do you think it's just going to keep evolving into more of a problem? What was going through my mind when I wrote that down was, with everyone talking about, with all the news reporting it all the time, making it big news, do you think it's going to kind of grow in popularity to become a hacker, or do you think that, it'll die off and lose its popularity soon?
I don't think it'll neither die off or increase. In the 20 years I've been doing this, the amount of hackers has always been approximately the same in proportion to the amount of people using the computers and the internet. You've got more people using the internet now, so you got more hackers. The problem is I was talking, I think we talked a little bit about it before the show, is it's an arms race. Mm-hmm. It's literally an arms race. And the arms race is the security people, the white hats, they find ways to protect the systems. The black hats, the hackers, the other half of the hackers, because hackers are hackers. Hacker, what used to be just a general term, and they used to be divided between white hat and black hat, and then there was always the gray hats who were sometimes evil, sometimes good, depending on whether they liked you or not. Mm-hmm. But in that aspect, there is the ones on the black hat side, they're always looking for an edge. Always looking for a flaw, always looking like they can look at the same piece of code over and over and couldn't crack it. And then one day they find a new minor edge in it that had a crack that wasn't previously noticed, and they pry that open, and now there's a new flaw. I mean, all you got to do is look at the flaws, look at the way WordPress was originally designed and how many hacks are found. I mean, every once in a while, even WordPress, every once in a while, they'll release a patch for a flaw that was recently discovered, and that flaw goes all the way back to version 3.2 of WordPress. So the flaw had been there a very long time, just nobody noticed it. Right. So this is the problem. It's like the news media, I think when they get bored, they decide to pump out articles about hackers. Or when the hackers do something big and major, like lock down a oil pipeline system with a encryption, that's when attention's drawn on everything. One of the big flaws that a lot of people don't think about, the biggest flaw in computer systems is not the code itself; it's the ID10T error. The keyboard interface. Very true. The keyboard interface is the biggest flaw in the computer systems. I mean, humans can be manipulated way easier than computer code. In fact, penetration testers, most of the time, they don't even bother trying to hack into a system. What they do is they socially engineer the people who have access to those systems, and get those people to give them the access. And it happens all the time. So it's your biggest problem is your ID10T error.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. All right. You have one more question. You can ask it out, and then we will cut it off for those of you listening here on the podcast. You'll have to come all the way back to the YouTube channel to catch this second question.
Okay. With the additional security risks that have been coming to the fore as of late, do you think that the updates are going to start coming more frequently, or do you think they will just keep on at the current pace we are doing?
That's an interesting question. Alrighty, well, with that, let's have my lady take us on out of here, and then we'll be right back.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using wppluginsa2z.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencast, and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsA2Z. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
Alrighty, yeah, the clips were a little off today for some reason. I guess Murphy has decided to play havoc with this show too. All right, let's deal with this question. With the additional security risks that have been coming to the fore as of late, do you think that the updates are going to start coming more frequently, or do you think they will just keep on at the current pace we are getting? And that's hard to say. You know, security risks are always coming up. The biggest thing about security risk is keeping a lid on them till the patches can be made. Because what'll happen is, you know, one hacker may discover it, or maybe a white hat hacker discovered the flaw and reported it to the developer of the plugin or the theme or whatever, and they reported it to them and they give them time to fix it. Well, there are some of those people that discover these flaws, and they'll give a company X amount of time to fix it or recognize that it's being fixed or something. And if it doesn't happen, then that hacker releases that information to the wild. And once it's released to the wild, all the hackers know. And then they start writing scripts to exploit that particular hack. You know, the flaws they're going to be found. I don't know if the pace has increased on it. I would say the pace has increased with the rate of the amount of computers that are being used. I don't think it's increased exponentially. I think it's just increased at the same rate. That's my observations. I could be wrong, but that's my observation, is they've just increased the rate that computers have been used, and the fact that in these last 2 years, we've moved to so much online stuff, more so than we were doing 2 years previously. Because people were going to their office, they were working in their office computers. Okay, they had some internet stuff, but a lot of it was done through internal networks, which were protected from the internet. And they only had one exit to the external. Now they're having to do their work from home, which means they got to VPN into their internal networks to access their files, which in theory opens up a prospective hole into the company's network. So it's like, I don't know. And as far as patches, well, they'll patch them as fast as they show up. So I don't know if it's going to be faster or slower or at the same pace. It's a hard one to judge, but it will be continuous.
The security risks I'm talking about are specifically the fact that most companies now are doing a hybrid workforce, where they're half at home, half at work, or they're just always at home. And that has actually significantly increased the risk, because if the person isn't all that tech savvy and say they are signing in to work with a virus or something, that can affect the system. And that is why the security risks have become so much more over the past year alone. There's actually a couple of reports that I brought and stuck into the extra news about that. And that's why I was thinking, like, with all these security issues, I'm wondering if there's going to be something like, I don't know, some kind of security thing that's developed to make it so that you have to do this or that, and that will bring more updates for the system because it needs to be able to handle that, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of where my mind was when I was thinking about this.
Yeah, well, I imagine that, you know, they'll have to patch, they'll patch things as they happen. If you got more and more people doing it, then that'll mean more and more patches. So yeah, it's just one of those things. All right, that's all we got for you, folks. I think we'll call it a show at that, and we'll talk at you next week, or at least I'll talk at you next week, because Amber is going to be in the process of moving, so off to a new place. Make it loads and loads of fun.
Like I said, it's my new year.
Alrighty, that's all we got. Let's play a few Days of Thunder and carry us on out.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread. We're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
Yeah, I didn't discover that until just now. Sorry about that, folks. That's all I've got for you. Take care now, and bye-bye.
Take care.
Adios, mofo.